Hello and welcome to the Oracle Cloud ERP Virtual Summit. Big moves to pivot forward. I am your host, Mark Jeffries, for this exciting event where we'll be looking at the strategies that CFOs and their finance teams can adopt to accelerate growth in 2021 and beyond. As a result of the pandemic, the next great growth industries are being created right now. The good news is we've got some of those companies here with us today to share what they're doing to reinvent their industries, including GoPuff, Lyft, Square, and Williams-Sonoma. We'll also be hearing from Oracle executives Larry Ellison, Maria Smith, Rondi Ng, Matt Bradley, and Jürgen Lindner, sharing all of their insights. We'll also hear from PwC's US Deputy Advisory Leader, Jenny Kohler, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank PricewaterhouseCoopers as the exclusive sponsor of this virtual summit. So, let's get started. Over the summer of 2020, Oracle partnered with the Association of International CPAs to execute a series of webcasts designed to help CFOs and their finance teams manage through COVID. One big takeaway from that series is that the companies best positioned to lead coming out of the pandemic are those that are making big moves right now to ensure their success in an economy fundamentally reshaped by COVID. Just last week at Oracle CFO Live, Oracle's CEO Safra Catz interviewed the CFO of Square, who shared how she is seeing trends such as the pivot to cashless payments happening in just months, trends that used to take years to materialize. During times like these, as Safra likes to say, it's too risky to stand still. Now is the time to put your foot on the accelerator. Big, innovative moves are what will enable companies to get out front of the competition, from innovating the business model to pivoting more into digital while using M&A or divestitures to support that pivot. Savvy CFOs are also embracing finance automation in key areas such as automating the financial close to get information faster into the hands of decision makers and creating a culture of risk intelligence to be more resilient in the face of future change. Now, you might ask yourself, why is cloud ERP at the core of these big moves? Well, the companies that are thriving today are those that early on recognized several key trends. The need for recurring revenue streams that provide stability in the face of uncertainty or external shocks. The adoption of digital processes and touchless transactions, whether that's how you interact with your customers or close the books remotely. The embrace of data-driven culture and advanced analytics that can help you find opportunities in data where others might not. Oracle has a history of making big, bold moves to outpace the competition, especially during downturns or times of uncertainty. So let's begin this summit with Oracle's Executive Chairman and Chief Technology Officer Larry Ellison in conversation with IDC's Chief Research Officer Meredith Whalen. They're going to be talking about how the cloud has enabled companies to pivot quickly during the pandemic, including Oracle, which runs a $40 billion global business completely on a full suite of public software as a service applications, the same ones Oracle's customers run. It is a fascinating conversation.
Welcome, Larry. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Meredith.
Larry, I want to start with the topic that has been consuming all of us for the past year, and that is the pandemic. Oracle has played a critical role in helping organizations manage through COVID-19 as both a cloud provider that has enabled organizations to be resilient and as a provider of critical technologies to help the world get vaccinated. Can you tell us a little bit more about the specifics of what Oracle's been doing?
Sure. I think one of the big differences between cloud technology or cloud applications and the applications that came before is we come up with a new version of our cloud applications every 3 months. And we literally deliver thousands of features to our customers every 3 months at a constant cadence. Where it used to be, back in the days when Oracle had e-business suite was its primary on-premise product, our big competitor there, SAP, that we would have new versions measured in some number of years. Every 2, 3, 4, 5 years, there'd be a major new release coming out with new features and technology. Now it's every 3 months. So when COVID showed up, uninvited, by the way, one of the things we were able to do was quickly update our human capital management software and put in features that allowed customers to keep track of their employees who had been tested, or put in testing programs for their employees, so that if some employees could work at home. Another great thing about cloud technology and the Oracle suite of Fusion applications is whatever you can do at the office, whatever features you can do at the office, you can do this at home or while traveling. Every single feature of our Fusion applications, our ERP Fusion financials, you can do journal entries on smartphones while traveling. You can, obviously things like expense reports and things like that, but no, every single feature is available on tablets and available on smartphones. So we enabled our customers to continue working, even though a lot of their employees weren't coming to work. But there are some industries where you can't work at home, like if you're assembling Tesla cars. And there are a number of things where you have to go to the office. And in that case, Oracle updated its HCM software within the next release in that 90-day windows. Really, it was about half the time. We were right in the middle. So our next release was coming out in 45 days. So we put in features that allowed customers to keep track of their employees who are having COVID tests. Since then, we've done a whole bunch of things in terms of now managing back to work, helping employees and employers, work out how to come back to work safely. So that was one of the things. But A, it's very important for COVID, but B, it really highlights one of the key differences between modern cloud technology and what came before, in that we give you new features and functions every 3 months. And we're really the only ERP system that does that. There is no other ERP system in the world that comes out with a release every 90 days, or our leading competitor comes out with a release they still come out with a release every several years. So again, this uniquely positions us to address continuous change, not a massive migration to a new version, but continuous improvement, and respond to continuous opportunities, and be very, very agile and operate on this 90-day cycle.
So you spoke about Oracle Cloud. I think it's worth noting that Oracle runs its own business on Oracle Cloud. Can you tell us how that's helped Oracle respond to and drive change in its own business?
Yeah, well, Oracle's had to go through lots and lots of changes, right? Our fundamental business model changed from, we used to sell software, if you will, license software, and then our customers would run that software on their own computers. So the model was, again, you send us a purchase order, we send you the software, we provide services and support around that software. And we went from that business model of selling software to, if you will, renting a monthly service. So we've gone from sales of a software product to being a supplier of a cloud service. And one of the things Oracle is working very hard to do is help customers preserve that huge investment they have in data centers, and be able to gracefully, if they so choose, at a time of their choosing, gracefully move those on-premise data center applications into the cloud. But there's going to be this long period of coexistence where you're partially in the cloud and partially still on premise with your own data centers. And you got to handle that transition gracefully. That's what we were faced with. We had to make a transition. We could still sell software, but our cloud business is now bigger, if you will, than our software, our old software business. Our revenue recognition changed entirely, how we bill our customers, how we service our customers. So our service systems changed radically. And we were able to do that and respond very, very quickly by using our own Fusion software, the Fusion software suite. Not just Fusion Financials, but Fusion Financials, Fusion Supply Chain. Fusion has so much automation in it. The Fusion Financial software is so good versus what we had before. And we had a pretty good product before that we actually close our books and report 10 days after the quarter is over. So we're the fastest filer of any large company in the world. And I'm not even sure there are any small companies that file as fast as we do. I just don't know. But we're able to do that because our Fusion Financial software automate a lot of things like intercompany transfers. I can go on with details, but a whole bunch of stuff is automated. A lot of consolidations are automated. We use a lot of AI inside of our Fusion suite to automate processes that used to be done manually. And with this automation, it's done two things. One is it's sped things up, but it's also dramatically reduced errors through the automation. And obviously saved us a lot of money and saved us a lot of time. So we're actually able to file in 10 days with much higher accuracy than we ever filed with the old system. So not only are we taking less time, we're spending less money, we're providing a much higher degree of accuracy than we ever have. This pandemic has changed the way we work. It's changed the relationship of employers and their employees, companies and their suppliers, companies and their customers. And if we didn't have this 90-day cycle of adding new features to our Fusion suite, there's no way we could quickly respond to the rate of change we're currently experiencing and our customers are currently experiencing in their business models, with their customers, with their employees. If you're getting one of these systems that takes you several years and is very expensive to implement, that in itself is a problem. But what's worse is what you end up with in the end is a system that's very difficult to change, very difficult to enhance. There's almost no point to go to a system, go to a new version of the system like that. It's not much different than what you already have. And if you want to have agility, if you want to be able to do continuous innovation, if you want to be able to respond to changing demands and emerging opportunities in your business, you have to have automation systems that continuously innovate and continuously change as the world changes. You can't change once every 5 years. It's got to be once every 90 days.
Well, Larry, thank you so much for your insights and great advice for kicking off this event with you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Isn't it amazing that Oracle is one of the fastest filers, taking, just 10 days to close the books and report earnings? Well, I have to say I'm fascinated now to hear from Maria Smith, Oracle's corporate controller, a little bit later in the program about how Oracle has achieved such a feat. So stay tuned for that segment. It's a pleasure now to introduce our next speaker from PricewaterhouseCoopers, the exclusive sponsor of the Cloud ERP Virtual Summit. Jenny Kohler is the U.S. Deputy Advisory Leader and U.S. Advisory Industrial Products and Services Vertical Leader for PwC, with deep expertise in finance transformation and technology modernization. Jenny's going to share with us research from PwC's latest CFO survey about the big moves that CFOs are taking in 2021 to return to growth.
Hello, and a huge thank you for having me be a part of your day, starting with Oracle, of course, as our host, and also to each of you tuning in. I appreciate the privilege of your time and do promise to be brief. By way of introduction, I am PwC's deputy consulting leader, as well as the leader of our industrial products and services business unit, which is home, as the name would suggest, to our clients in the industrials, energy, and utility spaces. It is a pleasure to be in your company, particularly given my personal affinity for anything and everything in the office of the CFO. I am a CPA by trade and personally spend my time helping CFOs, controllers, heads of FP&A, heads of tax better their functions. More often than not these days, this means navigating an ever-changing technological landscape, and one that is only accelerating in terms of the pace of change. Today should be exciting as you hear about big moves CFOs and their teams are making to outpace competition and accelerate growth. As you embark on your time together today, I hope to leave you with 3 main points to carry forward as you contemplate your strategies to grow and innovate. Point number 1, the call to action in the office of the CFO has never been higher. I am of the personal belief that this function, almost more than any other within an organization, is responsible, if done well, for stewarding a company into its future. And never has the time for that been more critical in the face of high degrees of uncertainty, courtesy of a global pandemic, and most recently here in the United States, as we move forward with the new administration post-election. Said another way, I am of the firm belief that numbers do not lie, and numbers can and should tell a story. It is this role as storyteller that is so important in an organization, and that is exactly where the office of the CFO comes in, to get it done completely, to get it done accurately, to get it done right. Which brings me to my second point. With the call to action for the office of the CFO stipulated, what exactly are the challenges and opportunities that face us? In order to address this, I will call upon some information that PwC has gathered through a series of periodic pulse surveys with our clients that are intended to track changing sentiment among the business executive community. We have been conducting these surveys over a number of years, although we have increased the frequency post-pandemic. And all of what I'm about to share with you represents the voice of the CFO. First, on the role of technology. 75% of our CFOs surveyed indicate that more resources will go to digital in the year 2021, with half of those saying that that will be a significant increase from years past. These digital investments are expected to fall in the areas of data analytics, automation, cloud, and customer transformation. And perhaps not surprisingly in a post-pandemic world, that work on the customer side focused on accelerating revenue growth over the next year. As I reflect on this data point, 75% is worth pausing on, particularly in the backdrop of an increasingly capital-constrained world. Continuing on this investment thread, other top areas cited are cyber, risk management, tax scenario planning, and domestic expansion, which of course speaks to the notion of changing business models. Switching gears to risk, 67% of our CFOs pulsed say that policy and regulatory risk will be more pressing in the next 4 years. And since it is timely, the election in the United States, anyway, has not fundamentally changed the risk landscape when it comes to compliance risk, third-party disruption, cybersecurity, and brand and reputational concerns. In other words, these will be as pressing as they were over the last 4 years. Now, this brings me to my third point. If you buy into the calling of the office of the CFO as the storyteller of an organization, and in the backdrop of some of these more macro trends and risks, what can you do to control your destiny? The first point I would make is to be highly engaged in the context of your company's digital investments. Knowing that capital is scarce, yet business imperatives are high. Any investment made in this space has to generate a return and put your company in a better position to navigate its environment and make big moves, whether that be fundamental business model or portfolio decisions, or even just running the company better. These investments can be generational in nature and need to be treated as such. So demand a compelling business case, one that drives value for your organization, for whatever moves you are making. Along these lines, whatever that compelling case is, demand incremental value achievement along the way, not at the very end. These days, there are ways to craft digital undertakings to return value incrementally to your end users, and that should be the norm, not the exception. Third, be mindful that digital scope may start in the office of the CFO, particularly given its foundational nature to a company. Getting this backbone right is critical, and we are seeing the CFO community invest in digitizing finance processes, including automating the close and building a more risk-intelligent culture. Whatever it may be in your case, this is your chance to lead from the front and set the proper tone for your broader organization. The last point I would make here, and this comes back to the storyteller theme, digital does not work without the right ingredients. And one of those main ingredients that needs to be right is your data. Without the right data, the story cannot be told, and you are the keepers of your data. With all of this said, please allow me to bring our time together to a close, and I will end where I began, which is a big thank you for your time and your consideration. To recap, I believe, 1, your calling in your organization has never been higher. And 2, that is against a backdrop of some pervasive digital and risk trends where you can, 3, play a vital role in navigating your big moves. Please carry that with you into the rest of your time together. As you hear more about business model innovation, deal-related trends, and the future of the finance function, I will leave you with one final question. As your organization's storyteller, what are you going to do to write your story? Thank you for your time.
What great advice from Jenny on how finance should be thinking about all of the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead, and why, more than ever, finance has to be prescriptive at looking forward. Understanding the story behind the data helps the business capitalize on it fully. Wonderful advice, Jenny. Thank you so much. Now, at Oracle CFO Live, we polled CFOs on what their top 2 priorities are going into 2021. And not surprisingly, innovating the business model was one. They understand that the next great growth industries are taking shape right now, defined by companies that share 3 key traits. 1, well, they're launching services-based business models that provide stable and recurring revenue streams and are reallocating resources into those initiatives. 2, they have a relentless focus on automation and process optimization, which allows them to pivot quickly in response to change. And 3, they have a continuous commitment to delivering customer excellence through innovation and digital experiences. Square is one of those industry-defining leaders, continuously innovating its business model to provide financial tools and services to the masses. In this next session, we're going to hear from Ajmer Dale, Chief Accounting Officer at Square, about the role that his finance team plays in supporting innovation and how Oracle's cloud ERP platform supports business model innovation and agility.
Square started about 10 years ago, and the initial sort of concept for Square was really unlocking the access of small and medium-sized businesses, what we call our sellers, to give them utility to access the payment card networks. What we've seen since then, over the last 10 years, is that sellers need a lot more to understand, to learn and grow their business. So we've actually developed a product suite of 30 discrete individual products for our sellers, which encompass hardware, software, as well as financial services, to enable them to actually grow their businesses. We've got a lot of innovative products, right? I think just within the Cash App, you've got fractional share trading and also cryptocurrency, right, is a utility that's available in the application. So from our perspective, is important, especially when a product is very nascent, is that we can measure profitability, right, to see how it is performing. Do we double down? How can we learn from the experience in terms of the financial metrics and the engagement that a certain product is getting? Capturing that information on a cloud application such as Oracle and using Oracle Analytics really helps us focus and address those concerns. We've got to come up with the products that have the most resonance and have the most utility, right? That'll have more of a meaningful impact. And the way accounting sort of helps there is to provide the guidance and the guardrails such that the company can feel like it can still innovate. What we want to try to create is an atmosphere or an environment where we've got a startup culture within a public company, right? We don't want to lose that. And that's what's made us successful over the last few years. The easy thing to do is look at your own business internally and say, okay, we've got to start cutting costs or delay costs, right? I'm not saying that's not one sort of vector of work that needs to be done. We looked at this both internally and externally in terms of how to approach the pandemic. Internally, how strong were we? And from a balance sheet perspective, we ran multiple scenarios with regards to how the pandemic was affecting our sellers and then therefore affecting Square. And so, having an analytical tool that enabled us to be nimble there and plan in a more cohesive way was very important. We're tracking a bunch of KPIs, whether it be product profitability, free cash flow, even headcount planning, right? Where, what should our headcount footprint look like going forward? Do we need to pause? Where do we need to accelerate? So there was a lot of, again, slicing and dicing of information that all feeds into a consolidated perspective, and to be able to do that in a more turnkey fashion was hypercritical for us. It's important for us that we have standardization in terms of our policies and procedures, and the cloud allows that to happen. I think we've also been able to tap into some of the next generation of technologies that Oracle is very focused on. If you think about AI, machine learning, those are very congruent with Square and our philosophy about being innovative. With Oracle, you're dealing with a business partner there that is best in class, right? And so as we think about the complexity of all of our different products, it was important that we had a tool that could essentially deal with what we knew about today, but also partner with us in terms of the innovation for tomorrow as well.
With how fast business models are changing and how fast organizations are accelerating their digital transformation, finance can't be left out of the decision-making process. The Office of Finance clearly has to be part of the conversations that are driving business model innovation. And what we just heard Ajmer talking about at Square, that's a fantastic example of that principle. Ajmer, thank you so much. Now, you may have noticed that the M&A market is somewhat on fire as companies look to mergers, acquisitions, and divestitures to make business model pivots and reallocate resources into those high growth opportunities. M&A supports the strategy for business model innovation by building on a company's core business or expanding a company into adjacent markets. Conversely, organizations can strengthen their business by divesting non-performing assets or shifting resources into higher value activities. Obviously, finance needs to act with precision when doing things like identifying the best M&A targets, spinning up new divisions, modeling the impact of divestitures, and integrating new companies, systems, and employees. Cloud-based solutions can help companies integrate new acquisitions quickly, onboarding new employees, fueling process efficiencies across supply chains, and realizing synergies much faster than with on-premise systems. So here with us today is GoPuff, a company that's made it their mission to make daily life effortless by providing the modern-day consumer with a delivery solution to satisfy immediate everyday needs. With the acquisition of Bevmo, GoPuff is cementing its advantages in the highly competitive grocery delivery market by verticalizing its supply chain. I'd like to introduce Josh Burke. He's Chief Financial Officer at GoPuff, who will share with us now how the cloud has helped the company maximize acquisition value, increase operational synergies, and create a platform for future growth. Josh, over to you.
We carry products for our customers that vary from home to cleaning products, to over-the-counter medications, to food, snacks, and even alcohol in certain markets. And so with 200 micro-fulfillment centers and servicing over 500 markets today, that's going to grow quickly, we're able to get you whatever you need in 30 minutes or less for a flat $1.95 fee. We really want to control the experience, and what that means is that we actually own the fulfillment experience. We have the fulfillment centers, and we actually take possession of the inventory before we resell it. So what that enables us to do is we can control the experience for the customer. That's how we can commit to delivery times. We bought Bevmo not for the retail footprint in and of itself, but more as a platform for us to launch GoPuff. And so it's going to be really important that we understand how all of our businesses are performing. And so, as we think about having one ERP, it's going to make everything easier. It's going to make our close easier. It's going to make planning the business easier. And it's going to make ad hoc reporting on performance easier. Bevmo has a dated ERP. We are currently in process of integrating the back end. That's clearly going to be a focus for us. It's really important for us that we have one single source of the truth across our enterprise, and we want to make sure that our front end and our back end are fully integrated. And so, you think about a big acquisition that's strategic for us in Bevmo, we want to make sure that we're optimizing the value there. And so Oracle is going to be a key partner to us in that. Especially in my seat, you want to understand the why. You want to understand the KPIs that support the numbers. And so having your supply chain and having underlying KPIs all in one central repository and one single set of the truth obviously unlocks a ton of value as you think about what the financials mean and what the numbers mean. So having them all integrated is critical. There's been a ton of change in the last 18 months, and the next 18 months will be even more change, a lot of uncertainty. And planning for that's difficult. We're really excited to use the scenario modeling that Oracle's solution offers us. It enables us to really plan for positive outcomes or negative outcomes and be able to pivot very quickly. And so that's obviously a huge help for us. We're also bringing two very large entities together with disparate systems. And so there's enterprise data management that Oracle offers that'll help us really bring those things together. And then the last piece is really how do we think about integrating the back end? I think that's something that's in our future as we think about Oracle and it being a solution for us across our entire entity. So Oracle will be at the center of what we're thinking about in terms of future acquisitions for sure.
Wow, talk about a big move. An emerging player buying up a big company like Bevmo to verticalize its supply chain and truly delight customers with those incredibly fast delivery times. That is certainly a big move while maintaining focus on customer satisfaction. Josh, once again, thank you so much for sharing the story. Next up, let's pivot now into how finance automation can drive radical productivity and free up finance to focus on more strategic initiatives such as business model innovation and M&A. So I'm pleased now to have with us two of Oracle's most senior development executives who are leading the charge when it comes to delivering new innovations in finance automation. Rondi Ng, Senior Vice President of ERP Applications Development, and Matt Bradley, Senior Vice President of EPM Applications Development. Welcome, Rondi and Matt. Rondi, we've heard from some wonderful customers and thought leaders already today, and now we'd like to get into how you and the team are enabling customers' big moves from a technology standpoint. So tell us, how are you partnering with customers to help them be more successful?
So first of all, I want to tell everybody that over the past few years, we have had really amazing customer momentum. Over 7,500 customers have adopted our cloud ERP solutions, and over 5,800 of them have gone live already, and many are deploying in phases. Now, even with the tough environment since March last year, implementations and go lives were even more active than the year before. Now, just over the past few holiday weeks, we have had over 120 go lives in core ERP. That's about 3 times the same period last year. Now, clearly, many of the finance leaders from our customer base are telling us that they see the urgency to accelerate their digital finance transformation programs, in particular via the SaaS adoption. Now, this is not only to keep their remote workforce effective in processing transactions and closing the books, but more importantly, to accelerate getting to some timely finance view of the business and drive many predictions, scenario modeling, and forecasts, and ultimately influence timely business changes and decisions, including actually pivoting into a new digital model that we've heard from some of the previous speakers before. So generally, a lot more real time, much more business impact from finance than ever before with cloud transformations.
Very good, thank you. The speed just seems to be picking up. Matt, what would you add to that answer?
What we've seen is that resilient organizations, they'll take advantage of any downturn and exit from it much stronger. And they're doing that a lot with, the scenario modeling, the ability to visualize multiple what-if scenarios to assess how best to respond to those in a risk-adjusted fashion. We can identify the strategic levers to pull to strengthen the balance sheet, to really look at the cash flow, and to look at the recovery phase and how that should actually pan out through. We believe this is a C-level conversation, and it will continue to be a best practice going forward for the FP&A organizations. In fact, in a recent survey of our customers in the Oracle Cloud, 71% of them have actually shifted to really take advantage of scenario modeling to really figure out what to do next and what are the moves they need to take.
Rondi, back to you. Could you tell us about some of the recent innovations that you've introduced that support customers as they make these really very big moves?
Now, like Larry said earlier before, SaaS delivers innovations faster than any other prior models, and particularly on-premise applications. Now, just last 12 months alone, we have delivered over 1,700 new features in our cloud ERP suite via our standard quality updates. Half of these innovation ideas came directly from partnering with our customers through multiple different channels, including our online forum, Customer Connect, with an idea lab over there. Now, many of these innovations are incremental steps towards our broad finance vision. The themes associated with that, there are 2 broad themes. One is a touchless operational theme, and then the other one is the continuous insights theme. Let me give you a few examples of the innovations. Last year, we delivered 2 touchless automation features, which we call intelligent document recognition, IDR, and intelligent process automation. Now, one automates processing any transaction documents, like, for example, your images or PDF forms from your manual data entry. The other one automates processes like month-end reconciliations and any of the other close steps. Both of these capabilities are leveraging machine learning. So not just kind of automates a lot of the steps, but it also actually learns from human intervention and correction and improves continuously over time. Now, in addition to that, we've created a number of digital assistants, these kind of bots, to help you use voice and any of the other social platforms like Slack, Microsoft Teams, to create self-service transactions like expense reports, entering time cards, or maybe simple things like checking on your reconciliation due and so on.
All right, thank you for that. Very detailed, love it. Matt, it's time to be a futurist now. What is next on the horizon? What is your future vision? Or indeed the evolution of accounting processes that you might see?
The current pandemic has been an accelerant to change, and we're seeing a shift away from the annual operating plan. By the time that's put in place, the world has shifted, the assumptions have moved, so we have to move much quicker and much faster in order to really drive this continuous forecasting. The other thing that we have seen is really a shift, change in the CFO behavior, is to move closer and closer to the customer, to really get these leading indicators as to what's happening in the business, and to bring those into the forecasting process as operational drivers. And in order to achieve both those, an increase in the number of users and also an increase in the frequency, you have to, as Rondi pointed out, move to machine-driven forecasting. Yeah. Have the machine generate the forecast and see that forecast, and then bring the human judgment in to augment it, and to move away from these sort of non-value-added activities and increasing this automation. The other thing that we are seeing is really a need to become much more of this business planner and business partner, and that's to really have this tighter alignment between finance and operations. So it's simple things like connecting the sales forecast with the financials, operating the front end of the house with the back end of the house. It's also looking at integrated business planning, covering, as Larry pointed out, financial objectives that we have with your supply chain. Can you deliver the services, and ensuring you've got consistency across the board at that level, not only in the supply chain, but also potentially with your workforce, ensuring they have the skills to deliver what you need to deliver when you need them to deliver at the appropriate time. And even at a much more sort of deeper finance level, deepening the connections from a process standpoint, looking at cash forecasting and cash management, and really trying to leverage that asset much more effectively as we go forward. But tied around all of this, and echo some of our panelists have mentioned, is that we don't have all the answers. We're listening to you, we're listening to the customers to understand what challenges they're facing in their specific industry. And like them, we are constantly replanning our roadmap so we can deliver the innovations at a pace that makes sense for them, that they can adopt. So we do welcome the input and really are listening to what's occurring across all industries and all businesses.
So I'm going to ask you one final question, really your closing thoughts or comments. Matt, I'll start with you.
I would say time is of the essence. A deferred decision doesn't put you 6 months behind because your competition isn't deferring decisions. They're moving faster and faster, and these transformations are step changes. So it's not a linear progression. You get further and further behind the slower and slower you in order to arrive at a decision. So time is of the essence, and get moving now.
Very nice. Thank you. Rondi, it looks like you get the last word.
Clearly, we see a lot of benefits going to the cloud. So you've heard from a lot of different speakers talk about the benefits there. But one thing that I'd like to leave for the audience to think about is why actually you want to defer the cloud adoption. What's the risk to you by not actually adopting the cloud transformation sooner? I think the sooner that you do that, the more benefits and more future-proof that you're going to be.
Fantastic. Rondi, Matt, as always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for a fascinating glimpse into how you're both thinking about the future of finance and how technology can help CFOs pivot into growth in 2021. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Big moves like pivoting to a digital business model, making an acquisition, or introducing a new product or service can cause delays and inaccuracies in your financial close, especially if you're still using manual finance processes. No wonder CFOs who we polled at our February the 2nd CFO Live event said that accelerating an automated close was their top priority for digital transformation. And as you know, a manual close can also prevent quick pivots and delay marketplace success as it slows the process of reporting results to external stakeholders who clearly need to understand the health of your business. Cloud-based solutions featuring machine learning and intelligent process automation can help you close the books faster, and perhaps most critical in uncertain times, they're flexible enough to accommodate change. Lyft is one of those companies that moved onto Oracle Cloud ERP to support its explosive growth and ambitions to transform the transportation industry. You know, it's an exciting story of finance resiliency under extreme pressure during the pandemic, and a company that's now using the cloud to reignite growth. I'm delighted to introduce Lisa Blackwood-Caprell, Chief Accounting Officer, and Jay Wayland, Director of Finance Systems at Lyft, who will share their thoughts on accelerating the automated close.
I think it's important for a finance team, to all be using the same systems when you close the books, if you will. And so for the teams to have the same template for doing your account reconciliations and using a software tool to do that, for the teams to have one tool to track the cycle of close and to have the consolidation of the information in one tool, to have your analytics and your reporting tools all pointing to the same hub of information.
It's amazing. When you have 30 plus systems and you try to scale, often one will break, or it's not intended to do that. Or you have a very almost made for custom use on a system, And all of a sudden, as you scale in an unexpected way, that system's no longer functioning for you. When you have a single platform, like what Oracle provides, as you start scaling up, there is an even keel of everything is going up to move at that same motion.
It's taking us over 12 days to close the books. My expectation is once we have Oracle ERP implemented, we'll shave that in half. And then once we continue on the journey of other suite of products of Oracle, we'll further shave that down by three more days is the ultimate goal.
When the Oracle first came in, when they lit up their services and we were able to start using them, 4 months later we were going live. We said, we absolutely love the speed that we're operating at. We want to do an entire ERP, financial implementation, everything top to bottom with accounting. We want to do general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, assets, cash management. We want financial closing consolidation. We want account reconciliation. And we want it in 1 year.
Touchless data, if you will, really affords the opportunity to use people to do what they're good at, as opposed to having them do reconciliations between systems, eliminating the manual effort, but having that touchless AI so that people can analyze the data and be strategic in their roles as opposed to reactive and spending all their time doing administrative tasking and reconciling. I'd love to have everything touchless and close the books in 1 day so that we can use the commodity of our people to do what they were hired to do. The world's going 1,000 miles an hour, right? For me to say, wait, I need another week, it just doesn't work anymore. And Oracle is, with their tools, is reimagining the financial systems footprint. It's a true transformation at Lyft with the products that we're implementing.
What a dynamic duo. Two great leaders really executing on this vision for finance teams to be that coach that PwC talked about. What an amazing story. Along with its customers, Oracle as well is working hard to achieve an automated close, and it's a project that its finance teams are truly passionate about. Larry talked earlier about how Oracle is one of the world's fastest filers, using Oracle Fusion Cloud to close the books and report earnings in 10 days. Let's listen in as Maria Smith, Oracle's Senior Vice President and Corporate Controller, and Jürgen Lindner, Oracle's Senior Vice President and Global Head of Marketing for ERP, discuss how finance automation and a unified cloud platform have accelerated Oracle's vision for a one-day close.
Hi, Maria. Thank you for being with us today and really share what you and your team are doing here at Oracle to automate the close process here. I mean, your vision about the automated close has always been super attractive. So I'd like for the audience, maybe you can explain a little bit as to what journey have we taken already at Oracle to really get to this vision?
Yes. Hi, Jürgen. Nice to meet you again. Yes, this is a really exciting vision for all of us. And I guess fundamentally, we believe that we have the foundation for this. The reality is that everything in Oracle is integrated. We have our subledgers integrated, all our other systems like HCM, supply chain, all integrated. We have one data set. If you want to have a foundation that's going to give you full automation, that's it. And we're just very lucky to have that as the foundation to launch this initiative from. And what we're doing initially is we're starting with the goal of a one-day close, because we need to take something as a mid-step before we get there. Let me tell you about some of the metrics since we moved on to the cloud that we believe are just astounding and actually going better than we even expected. So first of all, we've reduced all of our manual accounting by 42%. And obviously the team are already gunning for 50%. We're currently at 94% automated transactions matched in our ERP. That is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and such a foundation to enable us to get to full automation. We have now got 75% of our bank account reconciliations automated on EPM account reconciliation. We've an amazing reduction in at the area of allocations. When you're going through your corporate close, you know, there's so many things to do around fiscal allocation of costs. It's a very important part of your close. And we've reduced that by 98%. 98% has led us to be able to close the book so much faster.
How did cloud enable us through the times of the pandemic to really help close the books, prepare our 10Q statements, and report earnings to the street without any apparent glips? We even accelerated.
For us, we were so lucky that we had gone on the cloud because, for example, the backup to everything we needed, our full balance sheet, all of the account recs were on account reconciliation, you know, in EPM. So everything was already there. And we have, you know, everything we use, Accounting Hub to do our consolidation, all the subledgers, just everything was exactly the same. And in fact, what really was helpful was the speed. We actually ended up doing the close a day earlier in our first quarter close from home. And, you know, one big benefit I have to say of that is, you know, when we were able to report so early, it meant that our focus wasn't on the past again. We were quickly able to turn our focus onto how to manage in a COVID situation and make sure the business as well, that we were all taking the correct decisions for Oracle at that time.
Having the close done in 10 days by itself is mesmerizing, but what are really the benefits that your team is seeing by doing it at that speed?
We know some of our competitors report in 45 days. That means they're spending half of their quarter on the past. And it's not just finance. That is the entire company. Me and my team, we're spending more and more time with our customers. Time we used to spend on reporting past earnings. We have, you know, visits with our customers all on Zoom now, but we share with them how we're doing this. And the other area where we're spending our time, because the close is out of the way, is we're working with our partners in product development, because we are on the same public cloud as our customers. We have no customizations. So all the feedback we share with product development is valid for every single customer. And we are working together on all the ideas as to how we get to that full continuous close and full automation. And, you know, everyone is completely all in on making sure this happens. So the benefits of a fast close are much, much more than just the optics of the speed.
In closure, thank you so much once again, Maria, for taking your time, sharing your insights with us, and I look forward to the next session that's going to come shortly here. Thank you.
Great content there, and nicely done, Maria. It's impressive to see how Oracle set those bold goals and rallied their entire team behind them. 10 days to close the books and report to the street? Pretty cool. Think about the audacious goals that set your organization apart and motivate your teams when you think about finance automation. The same moves enabling growth and transformation can also put a company's most critical and sensitive data at risk. Acquisitions increase a company's data, and the expansion of IoT, mobile, and other digital technologies creates new access points and chances for that data to be compromised. So how do you manage risk in an era of data proliferation? Well, our final segment today will focus on how you can create a well-integrated risk management approach to security risk and compliance to ensure that any structural or business model changes won't introduce new risks that could negatively impact your brand reputation or bottom line. Joining us to share her insights on the topic of risk is Amy Allen, Vice President of Internal Audit and SOX Compliance at Williams-Sonoma. Amy's going to share how the retail icon is using Oracle Risk Cloud to create a risk-intelligent culture that strengthens control and compliance and encourages informed risk-taking.
For me, the excitement of my day-to-day job really stems from the fact that I lead a group that continuously focuses on improving the risk posture of the company. through improved controls and processes. We've gotten more modern with our approaches and really tried to evolve with some of the tools that we use, which is one of the primary reasons we were really excited to get involved with the Risk Cloud package with Oracle. And one of the key objectives that we really wanted to focus on was access. Obviously, just making sure that only the right people had access to our data, to configurations, to transactions. And that's always a challenge with audit. The top capabilities in the cloud solution that addressed our challenges, the capabilities that were there with AAC to do deep, precise analysis to identify segregation of duties or SOD issues. I think that the security model in Oracle is pretty complex. The tool allows you to build rules and then to deliver real-time results so that it's early, you're able to have early identification of any issues and remediate. And we decided to deploy it early so that we could be a part of analyzing the roles and ensuring an effective go live. The benefits that we've seen since deployment, I think I focused a lot on the deployment and sort of the pros of early adoption of this tool. But the biggest benefit since, this tool continues to allow us to do continuous monitoring of roles during production so that it does eliminate or isolate at least the time period where we do have any exposure. So not only are you learning more about the roles as you do that, but two, there's the plan for remediation. There's no guesswork as far as, what do we need to do to fix this so we can resolve this issue. AAC gives you what needs to be fixed. And so you understand privilege that needs to be discussed with management, then removed to be free of SOD issues or just to take the risk out of some roles. For the stakeholders, which is management, more than anything, I think that this tool has allowed them to get more educated and knowledgeable and more effective at managing access risk, because I think they're more involved. They appreciate how user-friendly the results are, and that they can understand what needs to be changed, and they can understand more about the roles. And so even just when I hear, in conversations with them as we monitor access, the fact that they can, chime in with privileges and different roles and understand it like all the way up to the SVP level, that's music to my ears. We also really could not have done it without PwC. This is brand new, and the security model in Oracle is completely different than any other system that we've got. So even if we would have had the tool, we would not have been able to do it without the experts at PwC to help us, guide us to arrive at what the applicable rules were from an SOD standpoint. I would certainly say you need a partner to do it right and to do it effectively, and not to waste a ton of time trying on your own, because I did that, and there's an easier way.
Amy, thank you so much. It was also great to hear how instrumental PwC was in the implementation of that initiative. I guess the key lesson here seems to be that risk and access controls are not something you can just handle manually, and you need to do it early when you implement cloud ERP. In today's uncertain environment, you can't get out of risk fast enough. So hopefully that's a strategy that you can take back to your own organizations. Tons of great content today on how you can make the big moves right now to pivot to growth. We've heard from our sponsor, PwC, from Oracle customers, and from the executive team at Oracle on the opportunities that lie ahead. It's up to each and every finance leader to invest in the strategies, capabilities, and technologies that can position their organizations for success in the new year and beyond. As your partners in this journey, Oracle and PwC stand ready to help. Thank you for joining Oracle for the Cloud ERP Virtual Summit. Big moves to pivot forward. Stay safe and join us again soon to learn about other strategies that can help you outpace the competition and win in the digital economy. I'll see you soon.